Alright, I'd like to create a quick video on how to do linear regression using a TI-83, how to find both the correlation coefficient and um, the R value, the correlation coefficient R, and the equation for a line. And so I've got a set of data over here, some X values and some Y values, and I want to make a, well, I need to find the equation, regression equation, best fit equation for those. So I'm going to start on my calculator, and there's one thing I have to do first. Generally on most calculators you only have to do this once, but once you've done it, it stays on. These TI emulators, they don't always remember your settings very well, so if you're using an emulator, you sometimes have to do it multiple times. So, but I want to go into this catalog right up above the 0. It says catalog. I'm going to push the second function to get there, and then the 0. And what I want to do is I want to scroll down until I find diagnostic on. That will make it generate the, will show us the correlation coefficient. If you don't turn this on, then the default settings say it doesn't turn on. So there it is, diagnostic on. Let's scroll down for a while until I find D for diagnostic on. You can also hit the letter here above the A. It's kind of hard to see, but right above the X to the minus 1 is a D, and if you push that it would jump to the start of the D's. But D isn't too far into the alphabet, so we won't go too far. You do have to hit the enter key twice, once to select it and once to actually turn it on. Again, you generally have to do that once on your calculator, or anytime your calculator is reset to the factory defaults, and once it's on, it generally stays on, but it is something you have to do from time to time. If you're not seeing your R, you need to go through that step again. Alright, and then the first thing I need to do is enter the data into the calculator. So I'm going to go to Stat and choose Edit. And in list 1, I'm going to type all those numbers, the 6, the 8, and so on. And by the magic of video, I'm going to pause really quick, and just like that, a bunch of the numbers magically appear into the table. And so I've got list 1 filled in there. And then I'm going to move over to type in the values in list 2. Now it goes to the bottom of the list. You want to be sure to scroll up to make sure you're at the top. I am at the very top of the list, but you got to be careful for that. If you've got long lists, it jumps over to the very bottom when you move over like that, and sometimes there might be more data that's hiding up there, not showing on the screen, that you want to be sure that is erased out of your list, or otherwise overwritten or gotten rid of somehow or another. And we're going to type in all of our numbers: 120, 110, and 80. Alright. I've got all the data into my list 1, has all the X values, and list 2 has the Y values. Alright, we are ready to do our calculation. So sometimes, well, I always like to quit just to make sure that I'm out of the data area. So I'm going to choose second, and then above the mode it has the quit option to get out of there. I'm going to go into Stat. I'm going to move over to Calculate, and then option 4 down here is linear regression of the form y equals ax plus b. The calculator does also do the option of y equals a plus bx. A lot of stats classes do things in the a plus bx or ax plus b. It really doesn't matter which one you use. They will give you the same equation. Of course, the values for the variables will be reversed depending on whether the slope is in front of the a. Well, the slope is a or the slope is b, depending on which version of the equation you use in there. So the slope is always the number in front of the x, and so that's that's what you're going to do. So I'm going to choose this linear regression. Oh, this one's automatic. It pulls up this little L1 and L2 for you. So you got your X list in L1, your Y list in L2, and all we have to do then is just go down to calculate. So we'll go down to calculate, and there's our values. So our equation here would be y equals negative 13.89x plus 272.89, depending on where you want to round there. We've got our correlation coefficient. The r value there is minus 0.746, and then r squared, which is literally just the square of your correlation. And it has some interpretation that you're going to learn about in statistics in a little bit, but that value is given there. But it's literally, if you take negative 0.746 times negative 0.746, you'll get this 0.557. Of course, the more decimals you use, the more accurate that would be. So pretty straightforward process. You go to Stat, Edit, put in your data, and then Stat, Calc, and Linear Regression. Now some versions of the calculator don't have that fancy build thing in there, so let me show you what it's like a little bit in the older versions of the calculator. I want to go to Classic. That's what I want to do. Instead of Math Print, I want to go to Classic. And I think in Classic View, if we go into this, quit to get out of here. If I go into Stat, Calc again, Linear Regression. I'm going to do the other one this time just for fun. Again, it doesn't matter. The numbers should be exactly the same. If you put them in the right spot, they'll be exactly the same. Linear Regression. Okay. So sometimes some calculators, some older versions of the calculator, it will pause there. Can I switch calculator modes? I can switch calculator modes. Let's quit to get out of here, and quit to get out of here. And let's see if I switch to a TI-84 Plus, if it does it differently there. Oh, Stat, Edit. Oh, my data deleted. So I'm going to pause for a minute and enter that data. And by the magic of video recording, look, all the data is there all of a sudden. Alright, I'm going to go second quit. Stat. And over to calculate. And I want to find linear regression. And I said I was going to do the other version of it now. So I'm going to do linear regression. Oh, it's still doing that same list one, X list, Y list. Sorts of things, just it isn't as pretty. And so here we've come up with the equation. If I entered the data correctly, it should be the exact same one. Oh, it looks like I forgot to turn the diagnostic on. But our slope here would be, in this case, it's negative 13.89. It's the B value in this version of the equation, negative 13.89. That should be the same number that we've got in the video. You might want to go back and review the video, make sure that that's the same number. If it's not, I probably misentered a number between the two. And the y-intercept is 272.89 would be the y-intercept on this version of the equation. So it's the same equation, just written down in two different ways. You know, you can type the equation y equals negative 13.89x plus 272.98, or you could have just as easily written that equation as 272.98 minus 13.89x. And those, of course, mathematically are exactly the same equation. It's just a notational difference on how you write those down. And depending on which version of regression you did, you want to use whichever version, write it in whatever form you used based on your regression. Let me quit And let me go back and show you how to do that diagnostic on again, because that got erased. Again, I'm going to go to second 0. This time I'm going to do the alpha D to jump to the D's. Oh, it didn't jump to the D's. How about if I just hit D? No, it doesn't jump to the D's. Okay. I'm just going to have to scroll down. And it's zipping through there. I'm pushing this multiple times here. And eventually we'll find diagnostic. Oh, there we are, diagnostic on. Enter, enter. And then you have to redo your calculation over again to get it to show you. It doesn't automatically generate it again. You're going to have to go to back to stat, back to calc, and let's do our linear regression. I'm going to do this first one because it's quicker to get to. L1, L2 is the X list. Everything else can stay blank. And there's our y equals negative 13.89x plus 272.89 with the r and the r squared values there. Alright, I hope that helps you figure out how to do this on the calculator. And thanks for watching. Oh hey, another quick thing I just found, going to add to this, is that you can, at least on this version of the calculator, if you go to the mode, and, whoops, I missed the mode, there's the mode. If you scroll down, there's more information down below. If you scroll down, I just found this, I didn't know it was there, but there is the option to turn stat diagnostics on or off down here. Oh, and it's the stats wizards on or off too. If you have an older version of the calculator, you may not have those options, but they are there on your mode settings. And then just to show you what it looks like on the older versions where you don't have the stat wizard, when you do this linear regression, the calculator will pause at that thing. It's waiting for you to tell it what list is what. You don't, by default, it will assume that L1 is your X list and L2 is your Y list, but you can type those in there if you want. Second L1 and second L2 is up here above the 2 in light blue. So it's an extra step that you might have to do, type in your list names if you want to do it, or it's a step that you don't have to do. If your data is already in list 1 and list 2, you can just do stat calc, whoops, too far, stat calc linear regressions, and then hit the enter key. You don't have to type in list 1 and list 2. It will assume by default that X is in list 1 and Y is in list 2. Alright, now I think I'm done. Thanks for listening.